Van Houten.
Yes. I have a closing comments that I would like to make. I don't believe that some of the things that Mr. K has said are things that are part of the record, but I also don't want to begin picking. Is it necessary that I've done a lot of reading on
I would
as
say
much
that if you have a
legal
closing
work?
statement, that would be sufficient. Yeah, you don't have to do that.
Okay, okay. As far as where the milk was drank, why I changed my clothes, certainly I will be the first to admit that this was a cruel and callous and dispassionate crime, which is basically why I'm found unsuitable, and it's the one thing that I can never change. I would like to point out that there are what I feel certain circumstances that allow me to be able to sit in front of you and hope that someday I will be released. And one of those is that I feel that in my trials, my second and third trials, there was a great deal of testimony by psychiatrists that led enough to a defense that the second trial was hung for 30 days, 5 manslaughter and 7 first. It was when in my third trial, felony murder, which is robbery murder, was read. There were 4 separate instructions requested by the people. They were read to the jury. The felony murder, robbery murder, states that my state of mind at the time of the crime negates. In other words, because it's a robbery, my state of mind at the time is not important. And Mr. K in the past has even said in this room that he agrees 100% that it was not a robbery. So I believe that the psychiatric testimony that offered that I was not as capable as I am today in 1969 is one reason that I could be considered for parole, without diminishing the fact that these were horrible acts that were committed. The second thing is that the crime was committed during an unusual period of time not to reoccur. I was 19. I was a drifting hippie already with a history of using marijuana. I ran into a man who had just gotten out of prison, was very seasoned, and enjoyed using people. I've worked very hard in my therapy to understand that relationship and to move on from it. The third thing is that during the committing of the crime that I was under extreme mental stress. And if there's been any evidence at all or understanding of abusive relationships and cults, there was extreme stress at that time in my life. The autopsy report verifies that there were superficial stab wounds in the lower back of Mrs. LaBianca. I have consistently testified and taken responsibility for those. The district attorney's office never presented any evidence that would refute what I have said. And so it's a matter of, I believe, my consistency, long before I ever heard of an autopsy report or anything else, that those wounds were post-mortem and they were at the lower torso. So any reference to other wounds, there's been no evidence to that. For suitability, I believe that I qualify under no juvenile record. As you mentioned, all my crime activity occurred with Manson. I today have a stable social history. When you read over the letters, a great many of those people I have known either all my life or at least 15, 16 years. They're good people, they care about me, and they've helped me become who I am today. I lean on them, and they are decent people. Signs of remorse, I feel that my life is a sign of remorse. I certainly take seriously what I have done, and it goes on. When I see youthful violence on television, it breaks my heart. There's nothing, and this is almost a cliche, I'm sure, said by people in this seat, that there's nothing I can do to change the past. Certainly there is not. But I would hope that you would understand that I took the wreckage and I have tried to become a person that is contributing. Not only could I be contributing in that community if you let me go there, but certainly I'm also in this community, and I see that as part of my remorse and an expression of it. I talked about the motive. I have no violent history of violent crimes. As I said before, August 10th, 1969 was it. Any kind of suggestion that I have a suppressed signs of remorse, I feel that my life is a sign of remorse. I certainly take seriously what I have done. And it goes on. When I see youthful violence on television, it breaks my heart. There's nothing, and this is almost a cliche, I'm sure, said by people in this seat, that there's nothing I can do to change the past. Certainly there is not. But I would hope that you would understand that I took the wreckage and I have tried to become a person that is contributing. Not only could I be contributing in that community if you let me go there, but certainly I'm also in this community, and I see that as part of my remorse and an expression of it. I talked about the motive. I have no violent history of violent crimes. As I said before, August 10th, 1969 was it. Any kind of suggestion that I have a suppressed anger, I live in a very, very difficult environment. And if any of you, I don't know your histories, but if you're all familiar with the CDC, even the gentlest of prisons, which I think this one is probably one of them, there's any number of ways to lose your temper, become frustrated, and at some point show if there was a tendency to blow up. It certainly would have blown up in the last 29 years. I live in an environment that I have had to learn lots of coping skills. I feel that my age speaks for itself. I was 19 when the crime happened. I'm 48 now. I'm getting very dry. Is there some water? Anyway, my age speaks for itself. No one at 48 is the same as they were at 19. And as I stated before, the older I get, the more difficult it is to live with what I did. I don't ever believe that, thank you, there will come a time in my life, whether I'm in here or I'm in the community, where I'm not acutely aware of what I did. I will live with that forever. And I've learned how to live with it in the best way I know how. I believe my parole plans are realistic. I believe they're humble, and they are ones that I can meet. And my prison record, it speaks for itself. Yes.
We do have one statement that must be read. This is a letter from the LaBianca family, and it will be read by Mr. Giaquinto at this time before we recess.
Yeah, and also, normally at this time, as you know, next of kin could speak if they wanted to. And we also have a number of, there's several letters that we received that are in the confidential that are in opposition to the granting of a parole date, and one of them is a petition-style letter. It says that they don't believe that you should be released, and then a bunch of people signed it. And then we got this letter, and it says the LaBianca family wishes to have the attached two-page personal letter to the Board of Prison Terms read into the record as allowed by statute. And it says,